All right, so before we really dive into the content of the course, I like to give a little bit of an introduction. So a lot of people say back in the 1950s or the 1960s that was the golden age of travel, right? But I really disagree with that, and I really think that we're in the golden age of travel right now. And the reason why is it's never been as affordable, it's never been as easy to research, it's never been easier to go and explore the world than it has been right now, right? If you think back to when our parents were traveling years ago, you planned for months, sometimes years in advance to go and take a large Europe trip. Now, I can, for $200 or $300, take a round trip flight. I can go show up in a brand new country the day of with nothing booked, and I'll be just fine. So I've been to more than 35 countries at this point, and the question I get time and time again is always the same question, and it's, Anthony, how do you travel like you do? And the short answer to that is this course right here, right? Everything that you need to know to travel pretty much nonstop, to go and see the world on a very limited budget, is included in this course. But what you really have to do, the only thing you really need to do to go and travel and see the world, is to just go do it, right? So I'll start with a little bit of motivation, and I'll continue this throughout the entire course. But really, the only thing keeping you from actually going and seeing the world is yourself. And it might be a little bit of a mental barrier, it might be about pushing your comfort zone, but that's the whole point of travel in my mind, is pushing your comfort zone. I'm gonna give you all of the tools you need to go and get from point A to point B. All you need is to actually take that first step. So with all that being said, you're probably wondering, okay, who's this kid and what does he know about travel? So believe it or not, before I actually got into this whole travel hacking world, I actually hadn't even left the United States except for to go to a very short trip to Canada, right? So I got bit by, I guess what you would call the travel hacking bug. I learned as much as I could about travel hacking, and in my first year alone, I was able to travel more than $18,000 for free. So after having a little bit of success under my belt with travel hacking, I approached the largest travel hacking website in the United States called thepointsguy.com, and I remember sending them email after email until finally they responded, and I wrote my first article. It was actually on one of my favorite carriers, and it's called WOW Air. And it was talking all about how to fly WOW Air on a $200 ticket between North America and Iceland, right? So it's a pretty great deal. After doing that, after starting to work for The Points Guy, I ramped up my travel pretty significantly, and for the past 3 years, I fly on average about 75 times a year. I stay about 100 or more nights a year in hotels or Airbnbs, and at this point, like I said, I've been to about 35 different countries. So about a year ago, I really started to get a strong idea for Brainy Flights, and how it all started was I had friends, I had family, I had business connections that were saying, Anthony, I need to get cheap flights to my cousin's wedding, or I need to go and get cheap flights so I can go pitch an investor. How do I get from point A to point B? And originally what I was doing is I was just getting everything that I knew or different article links, and I would send those out to the people, right? And eventually I was getting probably 5 or 6 messages a day, people just asking how to find cheap flights, what credit card should they sign up for. And so I thought, you know what? If I could consolidate everything that I knew about travel hacking and combine it into one spot, then that is something that people might find helpful. So about 6 months ago, I started the beta version of this same course right here, The Complete Guide to Travel Hacking, and the response was pretty phenomenal. I had more than 1,000 people go and sign up for the course and receive some really positive feedback. So that's what Brainy Flights is. But for a lot of you who don't know, Brainy Flights isn't my full-time gig. I'm actually a full-time employee at Amazon. I run security operations at a fulfillment center in North Houston. But Brainy Flights is kind of what we're focusing on right now, and I'm very excited because this is, as you know, the 2.0 version of the course. So like I said, we had the earlier version of the course. This is the 2.0. We've taken the feedback, we've added in a lot of content, and that's what we're rolling through right now. So the next part is we talked about who I was, but let's talk about who you are or who this course is best for. So number one category this course is going to be really effective for is for young adults, right? So these are people who are young, you have a little bit more disposable income, and then hopefully schedules that are a little bit more flexible for actually traveling. The second group is going to be for families, right? And when I talk about families, I'm talking about multiple individuals that are all taking the same trip. So maybe that's your biological family, or maybe your family is a group of you and 5 friends. But this kind of information is very, very applicable and helpful to those people. And then group number 3 are going to be people who are flexible travelers. So these are people like digital nomads, people working from their laptops, or people just who have a lot of free time. Maybe you're a college student and you have some classes for a portion of the semester, but then you have large chunks of time when you're not in school that allow you to travel. So this course is going to be helpful for all of those groups of people.